Welcome back, my fellow nerds. I'm Chris.
And I'm Michelle.
And we are D's Nerds, and we're doing our review for Wonder Woman 1984. So last month we did a review for Wonder Woman 2017, and if you watch that video, we'll put a link up to that link right there. You'll know that we really love that movie, and we're very excited going into this film. And first of all, it's a bit of a letdown because we didn't get to see it in theaters. Our local theater has actually closed down. So we actually did not get to see it in theaters, but we did get to watch it via HBO Max. That was actually a really great moment. We did that Christmas night with our daughter. She's going to be 4 in February, so there's no way that we would have ever been able to take her to a theater and feel like we were being anywhere near respectful to anyone else in that theater. So it was great to get to watch that with her. I know she really enjoyed it, and it was just a really enjoyable experience on that end of it.
Yeah, she had a lot of fun. She always says this thing about calling superheroes by their actual names. So she's like, "Oh, it's Diana."
Yeah, it's almost like they're her friends or something like that. Mm-hmm. So it's like, yeah, it's Diana, it's Bruce, it's this and that. So, but I mean, I know that was a really great time, and truth be told, I mean, it was actually a really good experience. Had our sound system, had our big TV. It felt theatrical-ish. I mean, it's never going to really take the place of that. But, overall, I felt like, the picture quality was pretty good for a stream. It's never going to be the quality that physical media is or actually going to the theater. But I thought that was overall a good experience. So let's hop into the actual movie. All right, so we're going to start off with what we like because let's always accentuate the positives first. I mean, Gal Gadot, once again, is Wonder Woman and gives a really great performance in this movie.
Yeah, she's absolutely amazing. She's heartbreaking in some moments. I cried a lot during this movie.
She boohooed like a baby. It was like, at one point I literally had to go, "Are you okay?" And as far as style goes, Diana is just flawless throughout the movie. I mean, apparently she's got a great sense of style because even in the 80s she looked great.
Yeah, she definitely took all the classiest part of the 80s and wore them, and the people around her definitely did not take the classy parts.
That white dress, I mean, even... because unfortunately going on Twitter, you're going to find a lot of negativity about anything in life. But, even the people that didn't like this movie, they were commenting on that white dress. That was, I think whenever she stepped out, I was like, whoa, like that was stunning.
Yes, she looked absolutely beautiful in that.
And of course, she's Gal Gadot, so she probably would make a potato sack look good.
So speaking of style, we had some fun getting to see Chris Pine as Steve Trevor come back, and in that he got to try on some 80s clothes. Diana trying to get him dressed to go out and see the world of 1984, and
none of it's great. None of it works.
It's real weird.
Except for what he wears basically throughout the film.
Yeah, I mean, he wears that like black tracksuit pretty much the whole time, which is pretty not super offensive, but it's still kind of like, you look like somebody's dad right now.
And the fanny pack. Fanny pack. But still, only Chris Pine, kind of like Gal Gadot, only Chris Pine could pull that off and still look amazing, which he basically does, and it's only because it's Chris Pine.
And also, I'm still not sure I forgive today's world for thinking fanny packs are cool again, because that was when we were kids, and I'm just like,
even back then they weren't cool, but somehow he pulls it off. Credit to him. And I thought once again, Chris Pine does an amazing performance as Steve Trevor, and kind of like in the first film, he basically makes the hard decisions, and it has the kind of the levelest head on his shoulders throughout the whole film of anybody in the film, and he makes the tough calls that need to be made and the ones that break your heart.
And I really appreciated, and this is not a spoiler for your review, so if you don't want any spoilers, just mute me for a minute. But I really appreciated the way that they brought him back in this movie. Mm-hmm. That really small moment she has with the Dreamstone where she's like, ha ha ha, like it would grant my wish, and she wishes for the one thing she really wants, which is him, not expecting anything out of it, and then he pops up. I thought it was really cool that they did that through the guise of him having awakened in someone else's body.
Yeah.
And so you briefly get to see him looking in the mirror at this guy that he is, but we actually see him as, Chris Pine, Steve Trevor throughout the rest of the movie. But they do take the time to acknowledge that it's not his body he's in, because that would have been much harder to pull off, I think.
I think that had to be weird, because if I'm in Diana's position, it's like, that's Steve, but it's not Steve. But then, of course, spoiler alert again, when she basically has to renounce her wish in order to get her strength and her immortality back, basically. You know, she sees that guy later on at the end of the movie, and it's just that it would be awkward for me. It would be like, yeah, like we've hooked up, but we haven't really hooked up, which would be really weird.
Well, it kind of reminded me of that Star Trek Next Generation episode with Beverly Crusher.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's like this being like lives inside a person's body until the body can't handle it anymore, and then they have to go to a new being, and yeah, it's like that whole thing, but that's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, kind of going down the cast list, I mean, Pedro Pascal as Max Lord is just unhinged and awesome in this movie. It's an amazing performance that he gives, especially when you know him as the Mandalorian or something where he's a little bit more or in very much like under control. In this, he's just absolutely the opposite, completely unhinged, and he jumps off the screen the entire movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's very self-absorbed and self-important, and everything is bigger and larger than life, which, I mean, he's supposed to be this very recognizable person on TV from this commercial for was it Black Gold? Is that what it was called?
Yeah.
That corporation. And so like every time he meets someone new and they're like, I feel like I know you, and then he'll do the thing from the commercial. So yeah,
things are good. They can be better.
Yes, that's it. So yeah, he was really good in this, but definitely very un-Mandalorian like.
And then also, again, Kristen Wiig. I mean, I remember when she was cast, there was a lot of people going, huh? And I felt, you ever just have a feeling that you were in for like a Heath Ledger-esque kind of transformation? That's kind of what happens here. I mean, I didn't realize how good of an actress Kristen Wiig. I always thought she was really funny. I thought she was a great comedic actress. But I mean, she is fantastic, and she pulls off bumbling and awkward, and then she pulls off, sexy and suave, and I mean, all that stuff in the same film. And
tough and kick butt.
And I mean, she looks great in some of those outfits too.
She does. She is absolutely stunning. That black dress that she wears to the same event that Diana wears, the white dress, like, and those shoes. I fell over and died just watching her walk in those shoes.
But yeah, she pulls it off. And I mean, the workout outfit she was in when she was actually working out in the gym. I mean, it's clear she put a lot of effort into, looking very fit and in shape on this. And bravo, because she was a stunning revelation in this movie.
Well, then when she's in her final cheetah form, she is terrifying.
Yeah, it's almost horror-esque, like the way she looks. And I thought the CGI on, speaking of cheetah, I think the CGI on her at the end was actually really good. I mean, there's some areas, and we'll talk about this in the things we dislike a little bit. There's some areas where the CGI definitely needed some help. I didn't think Cheetah was one of those.
No, it looked really good, very realistic. The fur texture worked, and it moved and shifted around as she moved like it should have.
So another thing that we really liked was actually the concept of the wishing stone itself. And the idea, I mean, they basically call it out right in the movie, it's the monkey's paw. It may grant you a wish, but it also takes something away. And you see that throughout the film. Kristen Wiig wants to be as, cool and beautiful and confident and powerful as Diana, but she ends up losing her humanity. Diana wants Steve Trevor back, but she loses, her power, well, not her powers, but like, her immortality, and she's able to be wounded now, and so she loses that part of it. And Pedro Pascal wants to be the actual wishing stone itself. At least my interpretation, he's losing his health and his ability to basically be alive due to it. So he's basically having to chase, just to basically outrun the inevitability of that. So, the concept of that I thought was really good.
Yeah, I thought the concept of it was really good. And to me, it made perfect sense with Kristen Wiig and with Gal Gadot's characters, like, losing the humanity, losing the immortality. But I struggled with Max Lord losing his health to the Dreamstone. That wasn't quite as obvious to me as those other two were. So until we discussed it, I kind of didn't completely, I don't know. I'm still not sure I completely agree with that, but it's what happened. I mean, ultimately, he essentially abuses the Dreamstone power. So it is what cost him his health in the end anyway. I think it's just having to do so much.
So another thing that I didn't necessarily enjoy seeing, but it was nice to kind of explore that part of it, is just seeing Diana in a weakened state. Not just, obvious on the physical part, yeah. Actually seeing her get wounded is something that we haven't seen up to this point with her. And so to watch how she kind of handles that, and she's every bit the warrior that she is. She doesn't back down from the fight. She still continues on. But then there's also the part of it where she's in a weakened state where she doesn't necessarily make the heroic choice initially, especially because when they find out like what it does, what the wish stone does, how you can save the day basically, which in that case would lead to Diana basically renouncing her wish, Steve Trevor dying again, losing him again. She initially doesn't make that initial call, that initial heroic call. She goes, no, I want this one thing. Why can't I have this one thing? I thought it was really good to see her be in a really tough position like that.
Yeah, because a lot of people that you see in the world that are making all of these wishes as the movie progresses are making really petty wishes or really superficial things, and she just has this one thing that she cares about. And she's so determined that she's going to keep him that she's like, we just have to stop it. We just have to put it on hold and we'll figure it out. Like, there has to be a solution. But she's not ultimately, or not initially, willing to do that until it comes down to the very last moment.
Just to watch her, and I think Gal Gadot in those moments, I think she gives some amazing performances in that, and like just especially there at the end when she's she's basically saying her goodbyes to Steve, and she's like, "I'll never love again," and you feel that. I think like at one point, like you looked at me and you said, like, I'm glad I didn't have to make that. Never had been in a position to be able to make that call. Because, you're basically sentencing the love of your life to death. And that's just, and especially after you've already watched them die like that. But, like I said, you hate to see that character go through it because, you love that character so much. But it's nice to watch them get put through the ringer and how they respond, and it was wonderfully done.
Well, and the other cool thing about it was, she had been beaten to an absolute pulp by Cheetah right before that. She looked terrible, and as she's talking to Steve trying to make this decision, there's like all this chaos in the streets, and they're just kind of like standing in this corner, and she's got all these injuries. She's been shot, she's been beat up, she's bruised, and she makes the decision finally to renounce. And as soon as she turns around and starts to walk away after she says it, you start seeing things heal.
Yeah,
it was just a really cool moment,
and the way they did that too, because like they're like in this corridor. I think of probably the entrance to her apartment building, maybe is what I thought it was. But like basically, she walks away from Steve, and it's like around the corner, and you hear him say, "I'll always love you." Like you hear him say it, you don't see him, and then she's losing, she's crying, and she says, "I renounce my wish," and then she starts running, and she takes off, and then you see those scars heal. But like that moment of just like, that you just walk away from the love of your life and then do the thing that's going to like basically make them not exist anymore. It was heartbreaking. But it also, her flying as well. Yes, it was
so beautiful.
I thought it was really cool. And I've seen things online like, since when does Wonder Woman fly? In the comic, she's flown multiple times. This isn't a new thing. Even Zack Snyder's come back and said that eventually in his world that, yeah, she would fly. So, but the way they kind of came up with it, I thought was really interesting. That it kind of like the lasso kind of helps. Like, and she's at one point she's riding lightning with it. I thought that visually was really cool.
It was really cool. And I love that they tied it back to, she always said that she never understood flight because Steve was a pilot and they fly in the plane together, which brings us back to something we didn't talk about.
The invisible plane makes an appearance, and it's not as cheesy as I thought it would be.
So that was super cool. But I love that, like, that moment she had just lost Steve again. She finds herself up in the sky and she is listening in her head to like the memory of him telling her about what causes flight or what allows flight, and she's thinking about that in his voice as she's learning. So it was really cool.
So looking at the ending, I thought it was a very interesting move, and I think actually a very bold move, that Diana solves it and saves the day, not with an epic fight. She really uses Wonder Woman's compassion and her, just love of everyone, really. To kind of save the day and get people to see, that to not be selfish and to renounce their own wishes through Max Lord. And he even gets Max Lord, the one guy that's like sitting there trying to gain all this power. She gets him to renounce his wish, which I thought was stunning in and of itself. But I love that actually it didn't take a big fist fight at the end to win the day, that it actually was just, Wonder Woman, getting people to see love rather than their own self-interest.
Yeah, it was extremely cool, and getting to see him at the end run back to his son.
And basically getting him to basically admit, I'm not a good guy, I've done wrong things, that whole scene, like there, as a parent, I think you want your kids to be proud of you, and I think half the battle is just showing up and being there and loving your kid. And I think that was just a great message there at the end. And of course, we'll close out what we like and what we loved about Wonder Woman 1984 by talking about the cameo. Linda Carter is Asteria in the, and we've heard about this throughout the whole, about Asteria and her golden armor and everything, which Wonder Woman looks awesome in, by the way. It's great. Forgot to mention that. But yeah, the fact that Asteria is Linda Carter and the reveal they did on that was just like, yes moment.
Well, and they first show like a little eye shot of her like in the golden armor when they're explaining the story earlier in the movie, and I was like, is that? But he didn't recognize her immediately, and I was like, well, maybe it's not if he didn't recognize her. And then it was at the end in the cameo, and I was like, yes, I was right.
Well, the way they shot it's like from behind her and everything, and she looks like Gal Gadot, but I was like, I bet that's not Gal Gadot. And then sure enough, it turned around and it was Linda Carter. I was like, yes, that was a great moment. But to get her back and just kind of have that all go full circle, just... Very great cool ending. So now we're going to talk about some things that maybe we just weren't that crazy about. I think the action scenes and some of the stunts in that just looked a little wonky. The CGI was a little wonky. A couple things I read said that Zack Snyder's stunt team wasn't a part of this one like it was with 2017. And if that's the case, I think it does show on that part of it.
Yeah, there were some of the things, especially in the long desert chase scene where she's after Max Lord, that just didn't look right to me. Mm-hmm. And just felt over the top and not in a way that made sense for her character. And that's also when she's starting to really noticeably lose her power too. So I don't know, some of it was strange.
Yeah, it just didn't, like I said, CGI wise, Cheetah looks fantastic. And, but I think it's really that scene, the chase scene. And I think even the mall scene a little bit, it's just something's a little off. We're so used to Wonder Woman because she's been primarily in Wonder Woman 2017, Zack Snyder's fingerprints are all over that, especially really in the action scene. But then, of course, Batman v Superman and even Justice League, and we'll be able to do that abomination here in March. But we've seen her kind of in the Zack Snyder form of action. So kind of seeing her out of that was a little wonky. Like I said, I'm not sure it was bad. I'm just not sure I liked it either.
Yeah, something, like I said, just didn't feel right to me. It didn't look right.
Yeah.
So the other thing that I personally would have liked to have seen more of was just Cheetah as Cheetah. Mm-hmm. We get a really good kind of character arc for her, but by the time she actually becomes full-scale Cheetah, we don't see her for more than a couple of minutes in one fight scene, and that's it. And at that point, I was like, man, I really wish we could have seen more of that. Because Kristen Wiig gave such a great performance, I'm just sad we don't get all of it or don't get more of it.
Yeah, I would have loved to see more Cheetah as well. My only hope there is that, because people have actually asked Patty Jenkins on Twitter, did she renounce her wish? And Patty Jenkins said, we left it intentionally vague. So the idea that Cheetah may not be done, that I would think, if they come back in another movie and they have more with her, I think that would be more acceptable to me in that regard. But yeah, if this is all we get, it's like, man, it's like
missed opportunity.
All we got was a taste. Now it was a great taste because it was awesome, but it's like, man, we really wish we could add more.
As a whole, I really enjoyed this movie. I feel like any movie where I spend that much time crying over what's happening to the characters in it, you've done something right. Mm-hmm. Because obviously I cared enough to be upset about it. So I really enjoyed it. I thought the story was really interesting. It was interesting to see Diana get tested in a way that was definitely more intense for her than just fighting a big bad. Part of what she was having to fight was herself. So that was pretty cool. And like I said, Kristen Wiig is great. Chris Pine is always amazing. So yeah, it's a big thumbs up for me. I really liked it a lot.
Yeah, I give it a big thumbs up as well. I kind of put it on par with Batman v Superman in the way that it took some really bold risks. And for the most part, it pulled it off, I thought. And they're great performances. I think the cast absolutely carries the film. I think all the characters that really kind of interacted with each other, especially Pedro Pascal, Kristen Wiig, Gal Gadot, Chris Pine, that group, there was so much great chemistry going off in all directions with all those characters. It was well put together. I think the story was really strong. I thought the whole point about, the wishing stone was a very interesting way to go. And I think it would have been very easy to make a very similar film to the 2017 film, and they went in a completely different direction. To me, it's a love letter to the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies and to the Donner Superman movies of the 80s, in that, you know, they're more about hope and optimism rather than the kind of pessimism that we seem to be in during this time. And I just think it's really worth it. I think if you want to have your spirit uplifted after watching it, I think give it a watch and, you know, see what you think, because we definitely recommend it. All right, so now we would love to hear from you. Please let us know in the comments what you thought about Wonder Woman 1984. Would love to hear that. Also, if you like what we're doing here at D's Nerds, please subscribe to our channel, and you know, we'll be posting 2 videos a week, so you know, also ring the bell icon so you know whenever those are coming out. Also, we're on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, so follow us there in between videos. Also, we have D's Nerds merch, so we'll put the link down there. It's with Teespring, so we'll put the link down in the description. So, you know, if you get on there and you see something you like and want to support us, you know, just buy a shirt, buy a coffee mug, and we'd greatly appreciate it. So until next time, I'm Chris.
I'm Michelle.
And we are D's Nerds, and you guys have a great, safe rest of the day and a very happy New Year.
Bye.
Bye.